Have you ever met someone who just commands a room, but without saying all that much? Their confidence isn't this loud, flashy thing. It's more of a quiet, really deep-seated strength. Well, today, we're going to dive into the psychology behind this powerful trait, silent confidence. Seriously, think about it for a second. I bet you can picture this person right now. They walk into a room and they're not trying to dominate the conversation or steal the spotlight, but they have this certain gravity to them. When they finally do speak, people actually listen. So what's their secret? How do they pull that off? Well, the answer is what we're calling silent confidence. And let's get one thing straight. This is not about being shy. It's about a genuine comfort in your own skin. It's a state where you're totally free from that constant need for other people's approval. You just don't feel that nagging pressure to prove your worth with every word you say. Okay, so where does this powerful, quiet strength actually come from? Because it isn't some kind of mask you wear or a role you can just play. It's something that's built from the inside out, and it all starts with a solid foundation of inner security. This inner security really rests on two crucial pillars. The first one is self-acceptance, and the second is emotional control. So let's break down exactly what these mean, and more importantly, how they work together. This quote just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures what self-acceptance is all about. When you genuinely know who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, the whole package, that desperate need to perform for others or constantly explain yourself, it just kind of dissolves. You end up speaking because you actually have something to say, not just to fill the silence. And this leads us right into that second pillar, emotional control. People with silent confidence aren't easily rattled. When they're faced with criticism or chaos, they don't have that knee-jerk impulsive reaction. Instead, they observe, they process, and then they respond with this calm demeanor that makes them seem incredibly grounded and stable. So we get the internal foundation, but how does this inner security actually translate into the real world? Well, it shows up in two really key ways, through their actions and through their listening. So here's where we see a huge shift in focus. A lot of people try to prove their value with words, right? They're always talking about their plans, their intentions, but the silently confident, they let their actions do the talking. Their results, their consistency, their behavior, that becomes their primary form of communication. And this brings us to another one of their key behaviors, listening. For someone with silent confidence, listening isn't just this passive act of waiting for your turn to talk. No way. It's actually a strategic position of strength. It's how they gather information, how they understand the dynamics of a situation, and where they just observe. And here's the big payoff for all that listening. When they finally do decide to contribute, people lean in. Their words have so much more impact and carry so much more weight precisely because they aren't wasted. They're thoughtful, they're relevant, and a lot of the time, they're exactly what needed to be said. But despite its power, this quiet approach gets misunderstood. A lot. It's so easy for people to mistake a calm, reserved demeanor for something else entirely. So let's tackle some of the most common misconceptions head-on. Right. So what people often see as shyness is actually someone being selective with their social energy. What might look like weakness is really just calm observation. And what can easily be mistaken for a lack of social skills is simply a preference for a thoughtful, measured response over an impulsive one. And this really brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer. We kind of need to redefine what strength and confidence actually look like, because, spoiler alert, it doesn't always have to be loud and assertive. So if loudness isn't the measure, what is? Well, true confidence shows itself in much more subtle ways. It's that calm presence you feel in a chaotic room. It's the steady, relaxed posture they have. It's the thoughtful, well-timed response. These are the real indicators of a deep self-assurance. Ultimately, it all comes down to this. Real, lasting confidence isn't a performance you put on for other people. It's an authentic, internal state that you build over time, just by getting to know yourself and trusting your own values, completely independent of whether you're getting applause from the outside world. So I'll leave you with a final question to think about. We live in a world that constantly rewards noise, right? It rewards speed and being the loudest voice in the room. In that kind of world, what new kind of strength, what new influence, and what new advantage can we find by actually embracing the power of silence?